So Acumatica, we are so happy to be a gold partner. Many of you know that we achieved that status, and we've put in a couple of implementations, and we're really, really excited about this product and about Amplified Tech's partnership with Acumatica. There was 3 driving reasons why we became an Acumatica partner. Actually, sorry, 4 driving reasons why we became an Acumatica partner. One is because of how great it does the construction and project-based industries. So the reality is we were losing when we were up against Acumatica. Jesse and I do not like to lose, so we decided it's time to become an Acumatica partner because they're winning, and they're winning for a good reason, so we're going to now win with them. And so what we were seeing is project-based industries like construction, oil and gas services, field services, engineering services, environmental services, any of those types of businesses that are project-based, Acumatica was just kicking our butt and doing a much better job in the demos, and the clients were happy after the implementations because it really is the right product for those industries. So that's what we're going to talk about mostly here today. The other 3 reasons, just to quickly let you know, client experience is our North Star. Acumatica calls it client success, I believe, or different language, same meaning. Acumatica is obsessed about the client. So are we, and it is so refreshing to work with a software company and a big business that thinks like we do and is really there for the small, medium business and the growth businesses and wants to provide an experience that is really going to help those businesses achieve their purpose and their goals. And I have not seen a single deviation with Acumatica, whether I'm in Vegas, whether I'm on a call with Mike prepping, whether I'm watching them help us on our sales. There's not been a single deviation from their dedication to client experience, and it is beyond exciting to share that with them and to be partners with them as a result. The other 2 reasons are a bit more technical, and we might talk about them at the Q&A, or maybe Mike will bring them up. That is unlimited users, fantastic for change management, fantastic for every business to have every user able to access the system and see the same truth and the same data. It makes a huge difference, and it's so cost effective. And unlimited complementary learning. If you don't learn a system, you won't use the system. And so that is an awesome, awesome differentiator. So those are the 4 reasons we became an Acumatica partner. We're so happy to have you here today to share in our excitement and to show you right here today with Mike what it is about Acumatica that's exciting. And we're happy to answer any questions you have. So I will now be quiet because you did not come here to hear me, and let Mike take it on.
All right, great. Thank you, Jamie. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
All right, excellent. So I am Mike Gillum with Acumatica. I am a senior solutions architect with the company. I've been with Acumatica a little over 7 years this past April, and time certainly flies when you're having fun. I have been in the automated construction software space for 30 years, and prior to Acumatica, worked for a number of organizations in the space. My father was a contractor up in New Hampshire when I was younger, so I've been an estimator, laborer, project manager. Been in construction my entire life, went the technology route from a career perspective. Super happy to be here today to share with you who Acumatica is, what we bring to the table, specifically the construction and project side of Acumatica, but I'll dabble a little bit into some of the other additions of Acumatica, as well as the features within the system. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I've just got a couple of slides I'm going to walk through before we get into a live demonstration. And I am going to turn off my video just for now. I'll come back on for Q&A at the end for bandwidth purposes. So let me go ahead and turn that off. And Jamie, if you could just verify you're seeing the Acumatica screen, the lunch and learn slide.
It's perfect. Thanks, Mike.
All right, excellent. So I've introduced myself. Let's get into who is Acumatica. So let's go ahead and move that slide. So a little bit about Acumatica. We were started in 2008. We are a modern ERP product. We like to say that we're the only ERP born in this century, a true cloud product. Our company founders were steeped in business technology. They come from an ERP background. ERP is in their DNA. Charting our course in a couple of different ways. There's 3 significant ways that you see here on the screen. allowing us to focus on addressing the needs of small to medium-sized businesses. That's where we focus. That's where the majority of our customers live. Those are the types of companies that we find need that help or push when it comes to technology. Specifically, construction has been a laggard when it comes to adopting new technologies. We're starting to see that change considerably over the last 5 to 10 years or so, where technology is catching up to the construction industry, whether we're talking about machines and equipment or we're talking about technology. We're going to focus on the technology side of that today. Uh, allowing us to do that gives us the capabilities and innovations that help organizations like yourselves scale and grow. And we partner with value-added resellers like Amplify Advisors to provide that grassroots capability, on the ground sales, service, implementation, where we focus on the development of the product, the technology side. That's why we pursued that channel model, relying on partners like I just mentioned, freeing us to invest back in the product. We do 2 major releases a year, R1 and R2. Each one of those releases has over 350 enhancements to the product. We're always listening. I'll talk a little bit further about that as we move through the presentation. As I mentioned earlier, Acumatica was born in the cloud, and we've certainly disrupted the market with a modern ERP product to meet today's challenges. We talk a little bit about numbers here. Acumatica, again, I've said it, we focus on small and mid-sized businesses. SMBs are the lifeblood of our communities and regional economies. Typically, they are the home of creative innovations and the heart of any country's digital economy. There are over 32 million SMBs in North America, generating 2/3 of new jobs and accounting for more than 45% of the GDP. Small businesses lead the way in innovation and are 50% more effective in getting patents than large corporations. Interesting fact there. Acumatica, we're a mid-market company ourselves, and we understand SMBs, the challenges they face, and their importance to the economy. We are constantly asking ourselves, how can we help these businesses transform their operations? So we're going to get into that a little bit further here in today's presentation. When we talk about a cloud-driven transformation, you see the path on the left-hand side of the screen here, and that may be where you are in your journey today. You're using a server-based on-premise system for your accounting, your job costing, project accounting, project management. Perhaps you're using siloed systems. Well, we're going to take you on that journey to become a digital business utilizing modern technology, having all of those systems connected to each other, connected businesses to each other. SMBs, like I said, are the lifeblood of our economies. The cloud and modern technology offer the best path for transformation, real-time data at your fingertips. Many of the businesses we work with were analog, like I mentioned, and didn't think they were ready for the cloud, not understanding what that means. Many businesses are more ready than they actually think. In that analog business, systems are typically siloed. CRM, inventory, financial, service, commerce, all run separately and are disconnected. With modern ERP technology in the cloud, systems are connected and work as one. The transformed, digitized business brings people and processes together in efficient workflows, enabling something like a field service rep to use a mobile device in the field to view inventory and request orders on site because those systems are connected. The back office instantly knows that sales order was created, that it was approved. It goes through that process in the system, and we'll dive into that once we get into a live demonstration here. Providing data and insights for perhaps traveling executives that are going from job site to job site or office to office, with dashboards and business performance data capabilities. And we'll take a look at those here in just a second. And then move on to the next slide here. The cloud, right? Acumatica is a cloud product, born in the cloud. The technology's in the cloud. It means the system's always up and running, always have remote collaboration capabilities, that field to office and office to field connected, built for working together. We talked about mobility already, using a mobile application, which is part of the Acumatica system. No additional costs or fees associated there. From a security perspective, a complete security model with the most secure infrastructure provider. And open standards, right? The ability to integrate using API technology, import export scenarios to manage change and control your future. Our commitment to those open industry standards means you can manage change better and don't need to worry about future changes in technology. You can focus on your business while we focus on those technology changes and provide you that product. With Acumatica, we have the ability to integrate. There's over 300 different companies that integrate with Acumatica. And these are just a sample of what those embedded integrations look like. And today we're surrounded by and have access to amazing cloud applications. We all use smartphones and tablets today. People have their banking apps, their social media apps, different things that they have on their devices. And that allows you, from a business perspective, whether it's for payroll, marketing automation, email integration, the strength and openness of our platform makes it super easy to connect with multiple cloud applications seamlessly. Built-in integrations like marketing, sales, customer service, shipping, logistics, business intelligence. We have office productivity for Microsoft Office, Teams, Adobe are part of the system and work behind the scenes, delivering critical capabilities when you need them. This is how cloud applications and embedded integrations push the envelope for what ERP, enterprise resource planning, can do for you. For example, the integration of Outlook with Acumatica enables sales teams to receive an email from someone who is not a contact in their CRM, and an account can be created automatically with one click with the complete transition of all of that content. Again, these are just some of those integrations. You're probably seeing some products that you utilize today in the construction space, products like Procore, or when we talk about e-signature, getting that invoice signed in the field, getting that quote signed in the field using Adobe Sign or DocuSign. Power BI for managing financial information and pulling that data and displaying it in a graphical representation. So we'll talk a little bit further about that as we get through today's presentation. When we talk about remote access and artificial intelligence, machine learning, you've probably been hearing that more and more lately. You're seeing it on commercials, you're seeing it on devices and other products that you may be utilizing. Today, we're surrounded by that information, leading edge technologies like remote access or artificial intelligence. And we at Acumatica have intentionally been very pragmatic how we develop the applications, features, and capabilities that you need. We're doing things like natural language, which help in remote access for information across multiple geographies. Artificial intelligence and automation, things like AP doc recognition, enabling the entry content of a document, automatically eliminating manual work into forms, reduces that manual intervention, reduces the redundant tasks, freeing your employees for more strategic work that needs to be done. Our approach at Acumatica to these leading edge technologies is focusing on solving practical problems and bringing innovations to the market on a continual basis. We published our Principles of Innovation, which outlines how we pursue leading edge technology in a way that is responsible, practical, and valuable to our customers. And you can find more information about that on our website, acumatica.com. When we talk about customers, and Jamie talked about this a little bit just a few minutes ago, we have at Acumatica what's called a customer bill of rights. And we're the only business solution that I've seen as a vendor that publishes core rights that customers should expect from their ERP vendor. The customer bill of rights publicly commits to things like transparent and fair pricing without having to sign long-term commitments. making clear you own and access to your data always and anytime in full usable formats, not just summary data, but full relational three-dimensional formats whenever you want it, allowing you to easily customize the solution to meet your changing business needs. The entire community takes these customer bill of rights seriously. That's foundational to Acumatica's relationship with its customers and with its partners, and it's carried through by all of its partners, as Jamie mentioned here just a minute ago. Jamie also talked a little bit about licensing. Licensing that is growth friendly and flexible. That first item here, unlimited users, includes all employees, not just a few. All of your employees can have access to Acumatica, and it's a role-based system. I'll talk about this when I dive into the demonstration, but you can have roles set up for all of the people in your organization. And this again ties back to our Bill of Rights, and it helps shape our approach to licensing. The unique licensing model is centered on having more users in the system, not less. This unlimited user consumption-based licensing system includes not every one of your employees, but could also include external consultants and even customers accessing data in the system. Customers should not be locked into one deployment decision forever and have to purchase licenses when they add a new employee or add a new department or perhaps acquire a company via acquisition. We deploy multiple ways. You have flexible options. It could be a public cloud like AWS or a private cloud that you're that you're utilizing today, but allows you to switch as your business needs evolve, as you grow your business, as something changes via acquisition, like I mentioned earlier. Acumatica is going to automatically grow with you. One of the things that Jamie also mentioned was customers. Customers are number one to us. When customers ask for something, we are listening. We're always updating the software, like I mentioned, 2 major releases a year, but we act on recommendations. We have a Acumatica community where customers, partners, users can go and put their ideas in on what they want to see in product updates. And we have a voting system on our community where a particular feature or function can be voted on, and it moves up the priority list in our roadmap. For example, in 2024, we received over 700 customer ideas. 200 of those were featured in 2024 and now R1 of 2025 in our product updates. This deep level of customer engagement and input lies at the heart of Acumatica's product updates, and it allows our customers to help shape the product roadmap. We're very proud of that. All right, a couple more slides here. We're going to jump right into the demonstration. We have over 10,000 customers utilizing the system. 290, that number actually needs to be updated. It's over 300 now. Those are those ISV, independent software vendors that I was talking about earlier. There's over $300 billion transacted in Acumatica per year. And one of these numbers here that we're most proud of is this Net Promoter Score, plus 34. The majority of ERP systems are in single digits or negative digits. This is a positive net promoter, which means we ask our customers to rate us on our service, to rate us on the product itself. Yes, you would recommend Acumatica to your friends, family, other businesses. So plus 34 is an astronomical number in the ERP space, something, again, that's made us able to become the world's fastest growing cloud ERP company. We've won many awards throughout the years. This is just a sample from an industry recognition perspective based on growth and momentum. This enables us to be rated by things like G2 or Software Review. Some of the other things you see here, like Trust Radius on status of relationships or best value for the price. This is also on our website, so you have the ability to go and dig into this a little bit further behind the scenes of this, but we're consistently recognized by analysts around the world and customers for industry leadership, product quality, usability, and most importantly to us, satisfaction of our customers. Jamie also mentioned the multiple editions of Acumatica. We're going to focus here today on the construction edition, but we also play in the manufacturing industry, distribution, retail, and professional services. So a lot of these are overlapping industries. We do a lot of cross industry where somebody manufactures doors and windows or siding or some widget for the mechanical, electrical, plumbing industries, and then they go out and install it. So they're able to run their manufacturing business. They're able to run their construction business from a project perspective. They're able to distribute those items that they're purchasing. And if you're a professional services organization like architects or engineers or law firms, we have the ability for professional services to manage schedules, Gantt charts, all of that capability built in the system. So it allows us to cater to these industry specific needs, whether they're individual or cross industry, like I mentioned a second ago. Okay, so today we're going to focus on the construction edition, and this is a typical slide for role-based activities when it comes to construction companies. Executives, ownership, project managers, those field technicians out in the field. You've got purchasing and procurement folks, equipment managers, estimating, accounting. Perhaps you're a service contractor, or you have a service side of your business where you need to dispatch technicians, you need to create appointments, you need to automate those processes, assign tasks to people, all part of the construction edition within Acumatica. And what we're solving for is some of those problems that we typically see from our prospects and customers, some of the pain points that they're having today. I won't read this to you off the list, but things like restricted visibility, slow response time, workforce productivity, and we have solutions for each one of those pain points that we typically see. I'm going to cover some of these today in the demonstration, but we only have a short period of time, so we could always dive deeper with Amplify, schedule a demonstration, schedule a deeper dive into some of these pain points and solutions that we have in the system. All right, I'm doing a bunch of talking here on slides. Let's go ahead and take a live look into Acumatica. And you should now be seeing, and Jamie, I'm going to ask you to verify for me, an Acumatica dashboard on your screen.
Yeah, I see the dashboard. Thanks, Mike.
Excellent. So I've already logged into Acumatica. It is a true cloud role-based management offering. We're going to focus on the construction and project side of that today. I'm running this on Google Chrome browser. It'll run on Firefox, Safari, Edge. You can run Acumatica on a desktop, a laptop, a PC, a Mac, Windows, Apple devices. We also have that mobile capability, like I talked about, smartphones, tablets out in the field. When somebody logs into Acumatica, and if you look in the upper right-hand corner, I'm logged in as Max Baker. Max could be on the operations side of the business, the financial side of the business, the service side of the business. That's going to determine what Max has the ability to see and do in the software. Typically, we see customers utilize dashboards as their home page. So in this example, we're looking at a project overview dashboard. And each of these items that you see here is what we call a dashboard widget. All of these are configurable. This is something the Amplify teams helps you set up, builds these dashboards and configures these dashboards for all of the various roles that you have within your organization. I'll come back to this dashboard here and a couple others in just a second. I'm going to kind of give you the lay of the land before we get into project specific demonstration. Over here on the left-hand side of the screen, underneath the Acumatica logo, you'd see your company logo there. Each one of these is a workspace. Now, I've got a bunch of these turned on for demo purposes. Keep in mind, it's a role-based system, so not everybody will have access to all of these workspaces. For example, your operations team would perhaps see construction, project management, time and expense, but they're not going to see payroll or payables, receivables, finance, banking. That's going to be available to your back office team, to your management team, executive team members that work on that side of the business. Each one of these workspaces, for example, if I click on the construction workspace, shows features, functions. In this particular workspace for construction, this is where things like projects, project tasks, project budgets, project transactions, change orders, change requests, subcontracts, different inquiries that we can drill down and receive information. There's over 50 different reports available just on the project accounting construction workspace. These workspaces are also configurable. I don't have every feature and function turned on right now. If I have the rights to, I can click show all like I just did, and now I see all of the preferences, all of the reports, processes, profiles, etc. in the system. So you can configure these screens to meet your needs, to have the information that you see or utilize on an hourly basis available to you right on the screen. And perhaps you want to turn on preferences and make changes to your rate types or change your project's preferences. Well, you can turn that on, go into that feature, and then turn that off to keep your screen nice and clean in the system. You also see here, I've got yellow stars to the left of some of these items. Those are items that I've favorited in the system. So I can work out of the favorites workspace. A lot of our customers will do that. If I click on favorites here, now you see I've got a nice clean workspace where on the finance side, I want to see my P&L statements, perhaps my balance sheet. On the construction side, I've got the favorites there. And in project management, I've got project issues, which I've just turned on. So we try and make it as easy as possible to navigate throughout the software. I'll come back to some of these workspaces as we get a little bit further through the presentation. Let's come back to this project overview dashboard here for just a second. This is like a 10,000 foot view of what's happening in real time across your projects. And you can see here, I've got different types of widgets. Here's a table where showing me my costs by project. I can show 5 projects here like I am, or I could have 10 or 20 or 30 projects listed here. I pick and choose the columns of information that I want to see. In this particular example, I want to see the revised estimate, cost to date, any open committed costs, what's remaining on that estimate in a dollar amount and a percentage amount there. Anything that has that blue hyperlink there allows me to drill down to get to more information behind the scenes. So I can see it in this graphical format. And then if I want more information on any one of these projects, I can just click on that link. As I scroll down further, here's a couple of pie charts here, revised estimate by project or original estimate by project, where I can hover over any piece of the pie and receive information. And if I want more information, I can just click on that. And now it's going to drill me behind the scenes and open up more data. I can get to whatever granular level of detail I need or want to see in the system. So we drilled down to a project summary now for this particular project, and I can see more information. What's been billed? What's the original? What's the actual versus budgeted numbers? So drill down capability is a theme throughout Acumatica, not only from the dashboards, I'll show you other places as well. Here's an example of an embedded web page, which happens to be a job site camera. We're starting to see more and more of our customers utilize this type of technology, whether it's having a static camera on their job sites or even flying drones on the job sites. And we can see what's happening on the job site in real time. This is nothing more than an embedded web page that it's showing my job site camera on the project. And while it's great, we can be anywhere in the world and see what's happening on our project, we can also gather data from this type of technology. We can have job site progress photos being taken. We can have a weather service updating our daily field report, displaying the weather forecast. If we're mobilizing crews and equipment, we can utilize that information to make those timely decisions. So that's just an example of using a third-party technology embedded inside of Acumatica. As I scroll down a little further, you're just seeing different examples, looking at gross profit by project, where I can hover over and get that percentage of gross profit for each of the various projects that we have in the system. And these are just examples, of course. Again, the Amplify team will help set these up for you. but we can look at contract status by project. Here's a ball and court items. Who owns that request for information? Have we gotten an answer back from the architect or engineer or from the client? We can utilize those project management tools to make sure we have all that information right at our fingertips. Tracking things like change order logs, revised contract by project. Again, these are just examples, but this is that overview dashboard to give the executive team, perhaps your VP of operations, a look into what's happening inside of the projects in these graphical formats. Another example of dashboards here, here's a controller dashboard. If you're the controller within your organization or the CFO, for example, this might be your homepage when you log into Acumatica, enabling to see where you are from an AR and AP perspective, looking at AR or AP aging, looking at what's our cash on hand, what's our open purchase order look like, what's our cash demands look like. So you can set these up to have this information pertaining to your role within the organization. What's our cash position, income versus expense, unreconciled transactions? These are just examples, of course, of ways that you can access this data from a dashboard. Now, of course, this is all feeding from real-time data, invoices, billings, projects, different ways that the system is updating from field to office and office to field, and it's all updated in real time. So you're not having to wait for that project manager to come in at the end of the day, the week, the month, and dump a whole bunch of paperwork on the back office team's desk. It's available to you immediately as it's approved in the field, as that change order was accepted or rejected. You're getting that information in real time. One other quick dashboard here, then we'll jump right into a live project, is an individual contributors dashboard. So here we're looking at a project manager. Could be a superintendent, could be a foreman, whatever roles you have in your organization. But this allows an individual contributor to have their own dashboard showing information pertaining to their role, in this case, project manager. So Max Baker is a project manager now, and he or she has access to all of those pertinent activities, tasks, etc., that are happening in their role. These menu tiles that you see here, we call these KPI tiles, key performance indicators, tracking things like over budget projects, low billing ratios, underutilization of employees, all things that as a project manager are going to impact my project. So I want to keep track of that information. As tasks get assigned in the system, you can create alerts, you can create tasks, business events throughout Acumatica, assigning those tasks to people. They automatically hit their dashboard, they hit their notification on their smartphones or tablets, and they can track instantly where that showing the National Canadian Weather Service. I talked about that job site camera earlier. Well, this is just another way to look at information. So here we're seeing the weather service. Again, if we're mobilizing crews and equipment, we want to know what that forecast looks like. We want to know if we can start that job on Thursday, or there's a storm blowing through, we need to push off till Friday or Saturday. We've got that capability to track that information, update our projects, update our daily field reports in real time. As a project manager, I'm tracking approvals that are waiting for me, ball and court items, those are the RFIs we talked about earlier, project issues. As a project manager, I'm walking the job site every morning and every afternoon. I can capture any problems and instantly alert the back office that, hey, we've got a problem with a subcontractor. Maybe we've got a problem on the job site with the design or the architecture or the engineering side of the job. We can create those project issues and let the executive team know, hey, we've got a problem here. We need a request for information. Maybe we need to convert it to a change request as part of the change management workflow. But as a PM, I have one place to go to track all of that information related to my particular projects that I am assigned to. So this is a nice way as an individual contributor to track everything related to your role, your tasks inside of the system. All right, I'm going to pop over here. And you've noticed I've been clicking on different tabs at the top. That's a benefit of the cloud capabilities where I can split screens. I can drag and drop and open this up on another monitor. I could split the screen here. I can pop this right back into a full screen mode for this particular project. You can have as much or as little information that you want to see in the system. Okay, so now we're inside of an individual project, and we call this the project hub. And this screen is quite unique in the construction accounting, project accounting space because we manage all aspects of the project from this one screen. You don't need to go to 5 or 6 different places in the software to access everything related to this individual project. And we manage that via the tabs. I'm kind of moving my mouse slowly across the middle here that you see on the screen. These are configurable. You can change the order of them. You could rename them. You can have more or less tabs depending again on the types and size and complexity of your projects. But up at the top of the screen, this is all header information. So the project itself, the start and end dates. You can see that I utilized a template to start this project. A lot of our customers will utilize templates. It's a nice way to kickstart your project, to pull in your project tasks, your work breakdown structures, pull in your budget information automatically with that template. We're also tracking in real time up here a P&L, right? Where are we from an income expense and margin perspective? Do we have any pending invoice amounts waiting for us? So you get that information right up here in the header section. And then each of the tabs down here below have the details. So this is the summary tab, which is your properties, your settings for the project. So we choose how we want to view our budget levels. When I chose that template, it turns on workflows and processes like tracking of production data, a change order workflow on this particular project. That template automatically set up my billing rule. In this case, it's a progress bill, but it could be T&M, fixed price, unitary billing, milestone billing, all out of the box with Acumatica, all configurable. So you can change your billing needs based on your customers or your internal requirements for any project. I'm not going to go through every tab here, but I'm going to hit the highlights of this particular screen that we're in. So project tasks, those are your work breakdown structures. These could be phases, activities, lots, floors, again, however you're breaking down and budgeting your projects. In this particular project, we have 4 phases: general conditions, rough-in, trim, and finish. Notice how each one of these tasks could have an individual billing rule. So if you were T&M on rough-in or milestone on the finish work, you could set your projects up to meet those needs in the system. When I click on the cost budget here, I'm going to give us a little bit more real estate. Down below here is where all the details live for this project from a cost perspective, of course. So all of my labor, material, equipment, subcontract line items, other expenses all live here in the cost budget. And you can see we're tracking a slew of data. Now, again, I can rename these, I can drag and drop them, I can have as much or as little information on the screen that I want to see. But this is where, as the life of that project is ongoing, checks are getting cut, bills are getting paid, invoices are getting approved, it's updating this in real time. And keep in mind, as part of the core accounting functionality of Acumatica, I just opened up my workspaces here. Everything you're doing in the project is tied back to your financials. It's tied back to your payables and receivables, and vice versa. As your AR clerk or AP clerks are approving invoices and paying bills, cutting checks, etc., that's all updating the project in real time as well. So it's, again, a one-stop shop for all of your project information in this particular example. Now, right now, there could be hundreds or thousands of lines on your budgets. It could be just a handful of lines. No limit there to the amount of data that you can have. This information on the cost budget could be part of that template like I talked about, or on every grid within Acumatica, you see this little up arrow. This allows you to load records from a third-party file. So if you're doing estimating in Excel, or you've got a third-party estimating system, which we're connected to a couple of like Stack and ProEst, you can pull that data into your project automatically as well. Super simple process to do so. So you have the ability to push and pull data not only into Acumatica, but we can also dump out to Excel. If you wanted to export this budget, perhaps massage it in Excel or share it with somebody in Excel, very easy to just get that information right out of the system. Also, this particular view, I'm showing a whole bunch of details. But if I want to roll this up and just see it at that task level, all I have to do is click this group by task field here, this little box, and now I get a much cleaner view of my cost budget by those 4 tasks that I have on the project. So I can see my original amount, the revised amount, what's been committed, what's my actuals look like, what's my performance on these tasks look like. We're tracking all of that information right inside of this project hub. Same concept on the revenue budget or your schedule of values. In this particular example, I don't show as much detail on the revenue. I only want to see that at the task level. I don't want to see all of the cost codes or the detail lines from the revenue perspective. I only want to see that on the task side. This is where, depending on your billing rule, in this example, it's a progress billing rule. So I could be coming in here and updating my percent complete on any one of these tasks. And then billing can be run right from within the project. Could be on demand. It could be on a schedule, of course, tied to your billing rule, but you don't need to leave the system to run billing. And when you run billing, the invoices that get generated, I just clicked on the invoices tab, live right here in the project. Of course, they're available in the finance back office as well. But as a project manager, I don't have to go bother the finance team to see where we are from an invoice perspective on my projects. I've got that information right here inside of the project hub. In this example, we've said we want to generate pro forma draft invoices that have to go through an approval process before becoming a standard AR invoice on our projects. If I pop into one of these pro formas here, we'll open one up really quickly. We'll see header information at the top of the screen and details down here below. So we manage retainage or holdback. That can be on each individual line. It can be on the vendor level. So when you pull a vendor in, it automatically we can overwrite that. If you have the rights to, you can come in and change that retainage or holdback amount. You could change that column to say holdback instead of retainage, totally flexible in the system. But now with this invoice, it's sitting here in an on hold status. So if I remove that hold, it just changed the status to pending approval. There's a full approval assignment map built into Acumatica. So whomever is the approver, and I can come down here to my approvals and see that Max Baker is the approver on these invoices. Max just got a notification on his or her device, an alert on their screen, an email. All 3 of those things can happen to come in and approve this invoice. Now I can approve this on the fly here. Once I click approve there, notice that status just went to open. And as part of that machine learning and artificial intelligence that I was talking about earlier, the next logical step gets highlighted in green for you here, which is to release this invoice. Release in Acumatica is posting. When I click release here, it generates that standard AR invoice. Now, from the invoice and from all of the transactions within Acumatica, I have the ability to come in and email or print this. I'm just going to click print here as an example. Keep in mind the Acumatica report writer and designer is built right into the system. So you can modify forms, you can create your own reports, you can modify reports. Again, your company logo would be here, color scheme, the look and feel. You could add a signature box down here, whatever you needed to do, you have the ability to do in the system. And then every form, every report can be emailed directly out of the system. We talked about that Outlook integration. We also have Gmail integration as well. You can also export any form or report to Excel or generate a PDF document. So if you needed to get this invoice signed, email it out of the system, have them sign it electronically, it comes right back into their system as a signed document. So a ton of flexibility around that process. Okay, here in the Project Hub, we've talked about budgeting, we've talked about creating the project, invoicing. When we manage commitments, purchase orders, subcontracts, those are right here in the project as well. I can generate a PO on the fly. I can do a drop ship PO right to my project. I can create a subcontract and manage that whole process right here inside of the project itself. All of that done right here inside of the Project Hub, including every project has this balances tab, which is again a mini P&L for the project. So I can see exactly where we are from an income and an expense perspective in real time. So for example, we've got 22K in labor on this project. If I want to know where that number came from, I don't have to go bother the finance team. I can highlight this line, come right up here and click view transactions. And now it's going to open up the project transaction detail window for us and show us every one of those labor transactions for this particular project. So I can see the time card, the task and cost codes, the billable amount, even the credit debit accounts, hyperlink to the GL if you need or want to. Even that original document is available. In this case, we can get right back to that time card as it was entered in the system. Or maybe you're using a third-party time capture system that integrates with Acumatica. That information ends up right here on the project as well. So you're able to drill down to whatever granular level of details you need or want to see inside of the system. I know I'm throwing a ton of information at you guys in a short period of time. Hopefully you're seeing some major benefits here to utilizing a modern true cloud ERP system. Every single project, we have the ability to track activities, time activities or phone calls, chats, messages. We can create emails. We can create tasks out of the project. We're also managing from a document management perspective, any third-party files that get attached to the system, whether those are plans, specs, blueprint, revisions, photos, etc., all built right here inside of the Project Hub. We also have over here on the right-hand side, these side panels. So I can see as much or as little information that I need or want to see without leaving the project. You can see here that I have customer information available to me on this project. So MEP Capital Ventures is our customer. I've got financial information. What are their terms? What does the payment methods look like? We're accepting checks from this customer. I've got all that information right at my fingertips, including service orders. If you're a service company and you're creating appointments or work orders tied to your projects, you can see those appointments. You can see those work orders in real time without leaving the project's window. And again, this is just an example of showing that type of data. This would all be set up with the help of Amplify from an implementation perspective and putting all of these details inside of your Acumatica system. All right, back here on the workspaces, and I know we're getting towards the end of our hour here. I talked about construction projects. We can go back to our construction workspace here. We can run profitability reports, project WIP reports with or without detail. And project WIP, your work in progress, instantaneous. You're not having to do that once a month or once a quarter. You can get work in progress instantly for all of your projects at one time. Look at it individually, look at it by a subset, perhaps by customer projects. You have the ability to view all of that information right from the system itself. Within Acumatica, we also have payroll, construction payroll, certified payroll, unions tracking, workers' comp, certified projects, all inside of Acumatica. That's Canadian payroll and US payroll capability built right into the system. We talked about services just a little bit. I just clicked on the services workspace. So this is where I can set up service orders, appointments. I have a dispatch board or a calendar board where I can see exactly where my technicians need to be, the 4 or 5 appointments each of them have every single day. I can move that information around. I can tie these service orders to projects if I need to, or they can be separate for break fix or maintenance with your customers, all built right natively into Acumatica. We talked a little bit about the different additions like distribution and manufacturing, right? So we support full inventory capabilities. I just clicked on the inventory workspace here where you can manage your different warehouses. Your warehouses could be mobile warehouses, right? On your trucks, on your vans, from a service perspective. So we can prepare counts, we can do replenishment, stock items, non-stock items, kitting, assemblies, all built right into the inventory capabilities of Acumatica. We also have purchasing capabilities. I talked a little bit about this in the project from a commitments perspective, but you can generate purchase orders, purchase receipts, requisitions, purchase requests, run those reports, etc., built right into the system. And then, of course, from a financial perspective, the core of Acumatica is financials. So I just clicked on the financial workspace here. This is where you can run P&L statements, balance sheets, journal transactions, payables, receivables. This is payables workspace here where your vendors live, the ability to run those reports. Same concept on the receivable side. So a ton of capability available to you. Last but not least, before we get to questions here, project management. So there's a project management module, which is available with the construction edition, and that provides these field tools, requests for information, project issues. That's where you're walking the job site and capturing any problems that you have on your site, instantly alerting the back office. Photo logs for your job site progress photos, having those distributed to your appropriate employees. We can have as many photos on a log that we want, and we can distribute these to the client if they request them, or perhaps you're taking them for legality reasons. You can have all of that done out in the field and then feeding back into your projects. One of the more popular project management features is the daily field report. And this is where you can track any and all activities that are happening around your projects. I'm just going to open one up here. And this looks very similar to the Project Hub, where we've got these tabs running across the middle. But this is our daily field report. So tracking any labor or equipment time, tracking progress worksheets for quantities. Were there any change requests or change orders on the job today? Which subcontractors were on the job site with us? Ultimately, it ends up generating this electronic daily field report form where it takes all of those activities and sticks them in a nice, clean, concise report with hyperlinks. So if you're the CEO, you're the president of your company, your project managers can deliver this field report to you, and you can, without having to hunt through a bunch of menus, view this change order directly. Open up the vendor information, look at the project issues. Even those job site progress photos get included as part of the daily field report. And like I mentioned earlier, these can be emailed out of the system, generate a PDF, Excel, etc., right in the system. All right, I know I'm throwing a ton of information at you. I'm going to pop out of the demo environment and I'm going to go back into my deck here. So bear with me a second while I get that back up. And you should be seeing that now again.
Yeah, I see your deck.
All right, let me get to where I was. Bear with me a second here. All right, we just did the demo. I've just got a couple of quick slides here talking about, and I think these slides will be available for folks. I know we've recorded the session as well, but just some different examples of types of construction companies utilizing Acumatica. This is a subcontractor, does insulation and waterproofing. All of this is available on our website as well. Here's another one here. Carlson Levine. You can see they're using Procore integration and Acumatica payroll within their setup. Here's a general contractor using Acumatica. And I think last but not least, we were going to get to some questions. Jamie, have we got any questions from our audience?
Yes, for sure. Thanks, Mike. So we're running out of time quickly, and I understand people have to log off, but let's just hit a few questions. If anyone has any additional questions, please make sure to put them in the chat and I'll get to them right away. So you talked a bit at the beginning about integrations, and obviously we know, especially when you're dealing with construction or field services, that if people are regularly committed and having a good user experience with certain other softwares that are best in class, people might not want to switch off of those, even if Acumatica provides a great module that can do the same work, or
Sure.
maybe at minimum they won't want to switch immediately because they're managing all the change and all the different tech learning. So
Yeah.
can we just talk a bit more about that? I know that, Procore was mentioned. Salesforce is always big for growth and salespeople. And certainly if you have your salespeople using a system, you don't want to risk disruption of that, right? And then
Right.
there's also Company Cam and EekTime. Let's talk a bit about integration as we wrap this call up.
Yeah, so integration is extremely important to us, and you said it, Jamie, right? Those best of breed solutions. You've been using them for years, perhaps, and your team is, they don't want to make that change. That's where Acumatica is different from our competition because not only are we an ERP solution, but we're a platform. We've developed our own platform in the system, so it makes integration super easy utilizing API technology, which is basically cloud to cloud, no manual intervention. You're able to get that information updated in real time. So we make it super easy to do so. That's why we have over 300 ISV partners that have integrated their systems with Acumatica. And again, you can go to our website, acumatica.com/marketplace, and see all of those integrations by industry, by type, by category. Super, super easy to do so.
Excellent. So another thing that you touched on briefly, but I just want to reemphasize, when we're talking about the industries of field services and construction and oil and gas services and all that, people are out in the field, and with the Alberta market that we live in, sometimes that means a lack of internet or
Yeah.
consistent internet access. Can you just touch on that again about like how you can still do your work as someone who's in the field on mobile and it doesn't disrupt and it's seamless from an Acumatica and a cloud perspective, which obviously cloud is on cloud and requires internet.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got lots of customers like that, right? That they're working remotely. They don't have access until they get back to civilization, right? For so to speak. So you have the ability to continue working, continue entering your data offline, and then when you get back to the office, you get back to the motel, you get back to where you have connectivity, that information gets updated in real time in the system. So while you're offline, you can gather that data, you can continue performing your tasks, and as soon as you're connected again, it automatically updates the system. Pretty slick there.
Excellent. That's really good to know because obviously if that's not happening or if people feel like it's on their to-do list until they're at a place with web, we know that to-do lists
Yeah,
get lost
people
and
forget.
deprioritized. And
Yeah,
next thing you know, everyone's supposed to do it Friday, but usually you have something better to do on a Friday.
100%. There's always disruptions or somebody's interrupting you, or you've got a million different things going at the same time. So yeah, this is kind of like it helps you remember to do those things because it's automatic.
Perfect. Okay, one last question, and then we'll cut this out because I know we only had booked till 1. Mike, so appreciate your time today, and everybody that attended or is watching on the video. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's really, really critical that you attend these demos because we know that you might not want to call Dwayne and put that commitment into one-on-one time, and you just want a sneak preview and a sneak look. And that's what we do these demos for, so that you can have a non-committed opportunity to get exposure to Acumatica, exposure to Amplified Tech, and then hopefully we can follow up and get a bit more specific for your needs if you're in the market for an ERP and to advance your technology as you grow your business. So the last question I want to ask, Mike, is AI, the elephant in the room. Everybody talks about AI. I just signed up for 2 AI courses that I'm going to do this summer. I'm really excited.
Nice.
I'm a big believer in AI leadership. And I think that the businesses that adapt it and not be afraid are going to really advance. So for clients that are concerned about how AI is being adapted within Acumatica, but also how ERPs still are relevant in the world of AI, what are
Yes.
your thoughts and what are you seeing and hearing, Mike?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, you had mentioned Las Vegas, right? Our annual conferences the last 5 years have been in Las Vegas, and this past one, we did a presentation on artificial intelligence and machine learning, where um, inside of the ERP, a lot of the functionality, a lot of the workflows, I should say, not functionality, the workflows and processes um, require some kind of manual intervention, right? Well, with artificial intelligence and machine learning, a lot of that, not right away, but a lot of that is going to go away. There's no doubt that jobs will be replaced at some point in the future. But what we're doing is taking a tactical approach to artificial intelligence and machine learning. We're listening to our customers. We're seeing the tools that are available out there, and we're putting in things like everybody's familiar with Chat GPT and some of the other tools that are out there. Well, we're doing similar things in Acumatica, where as a project manager, as a AR or AP clerk or a finance person, you're going to be able to turn on functionality in the future of Acumatica and say, print me these checks, or release these invoices, or send approvals, route approvals through XYZ or ABC. So you're going to be able to kind of utilize that artificial intelligence, machine learning to better your work, to make things easier for you, to allow the ownership, the executive team, and even the individual employees to focus on things that are going to make their jobs easier, their lives easier. So that's what we see with artificial intelligence and machine learning is using it to make things smoother, to allow you to focus more on the profitability side of your business versus the everyday, routines that people are going through. We're trying to make things easier, not harder.
Excellent. And yeah, when they showed that in Vegas, I think it was right on point, and I'm really looking forward to when that's built in and all the users get a chance to access it. That'll
Absolutely.
be great.
Me too.
The other thing I would note on this, we've got a whole blog series on our website, the Amplify Tech blog. So please do take a look if you're interested in this subject. But ultimately, what it comes down to is if you want to use AI correctly within an organization, and you want to have that be a differentiator for your competitiveness, you need that data to be in good shape in one spot, one source of the truth. And nothing does that better than an ERP and a system where everything is talking to each other. If you do have other systems and they're integrated, as Mike mentioned, or you have it all within one enterprise system. So if there was ever a time or a business case for an ERP, it is more now than ever, which is oftentimes misunderstood by users and people that are getting excited about AI. AI, if you're not using great data to help it drive the decisions and the discussions and the workflows, is not going to help your business. In fact, it could very well be a risk to
That's
your
right.
business if people
100%
randomly
data.
start using it with bad data. So if you want to be competitive and you want to someday play in the AI game, which you'll kind of have to do, you need to have your data in one good source of the truth. And nothing does that better for a growth business than an ERP. And Acumatica obviously is one of the best out there, especially for construction, field services, oil, gas services, project-based businesses, environmental engineering, et cetera. So really do think that in the days of AI, not only it's actually helping the ERP case, not hurting it, even though every once in a while you hear those bomb droppers say that they're dead like the dinosaurs because AI is going to just do it all.
Right.
I don't think that that's what it's looking like at all. And I'm really excited for the businesses that invest and have good data. And now with AI, I think we'll be able to make database decisions without sitting there and talking about the data all the time. Let's just
Yes.
have the data and have the real conversation about forward thinking,
Yeah.
action based leadership. And so I'm really, really excited about that, because now, as we know, database decisions are often arguments and reconciliations and bullshit about
Yes.
data. And by the
Yes.
time you get to the decision, you're exhausted and you don't necessarily use it strategically. And I really can't wait to see what AI does to leaders who have good data and then stop having to talk about the data.
Jamie, you're hired.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So we are over time, but lots of you stuck with us, and I appreciate that and I respect that. But it's Monday and you have a whole week's worth of work. So get back at it. contact myself, Dwayne, David, anyone here at Amplify or Amplify Tech if you want to learn more. We'd love for you to have a custom demo with us or with Mike or anyone else. And we appreciate all your time and effort, and have a beautiful week. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jamie.